There is a huge shortage of doctors in the USA, Canada, Australia, and many other countries. I come with a fantastic profile and I apply to these positions. I apply to the hospitals, I talk to agencies, nobody even gets back to me or calls me. Why is this happening? This is exactly what we want to talk about and help you fix this problem. If only things were so simple that you apply for a position and you get it, I did not have to do what I'm doing. And you did not have to sit here listening to me. So I welcome you all to this live session. This will be our last live session for this year. And I want to congratulate all those IMGs who have been successful this year. Some of them have already started their position. Some of them have received acceptance. Very big congratulations. It's a big milestone in your career, and I'm very happy for you. And on the other hand, there are also IMGs who are still waiting to receive any positive message. This is just how life works. Things are not very easy. You have to take strategic steps in order to be successful. So be patient, work hard, work towards your goal, and certainly you can achieve them. You're not alone. I have been through this myself. When I used to apply before, well, of course, I'm in a different position now, but when I used to apply as a beginner at IMG, I had a lot of rejections myself too. So, anyway, this is just how the life works, but I have to tell you, things have become a lot more easier than before because the shortages have significantly improved. I shouldn't say improved, increased, and there are American Board of Medical Specialties, the Canadian provinces have really taken this seriously and have implemented legislations in many states to help IMGs skip residency, take different paths to become successful. And there are also other pathways through American Board of Medical Specialties as well. So there is a lot of opportunities, but again, even these are competitive and you have to take strategic, careful steps in order to achieve them. Now, as you're joining live, I want to be thankful about joining here. Just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're coming from, so I know what your background is, so that way I can make sure to answer your questions in a proper way. And also, I do want to tell you, if you do want to decide to join live in the video to ask me questions, you can always use the link that I'm sharing in the text and you could join from there. But remember, if you do join, I do want to mention that your audio and video, everything would be transmitted obviously across social media. Okay? All right. We do have a question from Dr. Yash. Dr. Yash says, endo and nephro fellowship are easy to get, then surgery, and after fellowship, we have to do residency back. Great question to begin with. I don't like using the word easy. Okay? Nothing is easy. So I don't want to tell you guys that something is going to be easy and then you apply. Now, in general, endo and nephro are slightly less competitive than compared to other IM subspecialties. But again, even these are difficult to get in. What happens after your fellowship? That's always a great question. So that depends on two factors. Now, how you do as an IMG and what is the job market when you finish your fellowship or when you're about to finish your fellowship. Depending on that, many people we help with have become, we guide people towards alternate entry path where they directly skip residency and become an attending physician, which is always an option. If you don't find them, you have to get back into residency. All right, we're receiving a call from Dr. Deepthi. Let's see what's going on. You can call me back again. It looks like I missed it. And I also want to, as you guys are trying to join through the call, I want to mention about the new legislations. Okay. So, as these new legislations are coming, I want to emphasize that your focus must be to obtain positions. You don't want to keep calling the state medical boards, keep calling the hospitals. They're busy people. They have a lot of other things going on. I mean, sure, for you, your career is the most important, but think about from their perspective as well. So don't keep bugging them, but rather approach with a strong application to find positions depending on whatever makes sense to your background. And instead of making those phone calls, wasting your time, wasting their time, this is more likely to be successful. But they're not going to help. The state medical board cannot help you directly. Okay, there are various steps you need to come with. Now, just because you think there are shortages, I have the requisite qualification, you're not going to find a position. It's just the reality of life, and you need to accept it. And there are various steps you need to take to approach through these applications. All right, let's see. We have a call from Dr. Pawan Kumar. Dr. Pawan,
Yes, sir. Hello.
hello. Where are you calling from?
I'm a radiologist working as senior resident in AIMS, New Delhi.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And actually, I have finished my USMLE Step 1 and Step 2. And right now, I'm waiting for my ESMG certificate. I actually wish for alternate pathway under radiology.
Okay.
And so my Step 3 is due next year. So
Okay.
I would like to ask, how could I be able to transparently find out what are the spots available for the year 2025? Because most of the spots which are available at the university website are for the 2026 year or 2027, which also gets over, the application gets completed by January 2025 itself.
Mm-hmm.
So only the emergency means the instant spots open only few months prior for particular year. So how would we be able to know such spots? Like if at all I want to join for the session 2025 itself.
Okay.
So
That's
in
a great question. So there are two ways to know about what available spots are there. So one is if you get lucky, you can sometimes find it online through various sources like hospital websites and other places where they place ads as to where the places is available. Or the other option is you know people, you talk to them, and then you find out what positions are available and where. There is no other way of knowing them because many of these are not always published online, and this is how you would approach this situation.
yes,
Yeah. So when we help IMGs, we see we use our contacts to find out if there are any positions. Again, I want to emphasize all this is done very transparently. There is nothing like we're doing something special, but we do provide any special guidance. But the process is not like is done with full complete transparency. I want to emphasize that.
okay, sir. And one more question, sir.
Yeah.
Uh, how far this alternate pathway for radiology in ABR is
Mm.
applicable in most of the states? Because only few states are accepting that after the ABR completion we get the state license. But most of the website universities specify that at the time of joining the fellowship itself, they expect the fellows to have the complete license.
See, here's the thing. What you see online is what you see online, and what we guide people are quite different from what you see online. So what you see online is fine, but yes, on paper, yes, but when IMGs apply for, let's say, fellowships and they become successful in alternate entry path, again, the crucial thing is to find a position. Once you find a position, things will happen. So, bottom line is the main focus should be on finding a position, not worry about license, not worry about this, that, and stuff like that.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
so focus on finding a position.
Thank you.
Okay, does that answer your
Okay,
question?
sir. Yeah, thank you very much.
Cool. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so whatever it is, I know you go online, you read about stuff, it can get confusing. If it was so easy that you go online, you read and understand everything, again, I did not have to do what I'm doing. You did not have to listen to me. You could go online, find the information, apply, secure a position. It is not that straightforward. I'm telling you. If you go online, you read, the end result is confusion. All right. So let's take on the next question, which says, is DNB family medicine from India accepted in Canada, and can we enter into any fellowship after completing DNB family medicine? I'm not sure what you mean by accepted in Canada. But the second part of the question, can you enter into a fellowship after completing DNB? Yes. The answer is yes. And this is not only for family medicine, this could be for any specialty. The most important thing is your medical school or medical college must be recognized by World Health Organization. There should be a sponsor note on the World Directory of Medical Schools website. Your PG, DNB is fine. All right, great. You guys are still not telling me where you're from? So if you want to text me where you're from, that's always helpful. Dr. Agarwal says, hello, Dr. Rajiv. During fellowship interview, is it okay to state upfront that you want to find a permanent job in Canada? It depends. It depends on what your situation is. It depends on what the fellowship is. There is no general answer, but generally you have to be very cautious in saying whether you want a permanent job or not. Again, these are the things we are able to share depending on what your exact background is. But approach this very cautiously. Sometimes you say yes, that can be a problem. Sometimes you say no, that can be a problem. Okay? All right. Sir, MRCP with CCT, any alternate pathway in USA? So the question I assume is you have finished pediatry, you're a pediatrician with the CCT. Is there any alternate pathway in the USA? Yes, there is. Not only for those folks from the UK with CCT, but you could be from anywhere in the world. There is an alternate pathway in pediatrics and most other specialties, and in all 50 states. All right, moving on. Dr. Talibur Rahman. Hello, sir. What is the process for an orthopedic surgeon from India to apply for the alternate entry pathway? If your training is exclusively from India, and this is true for all Indian IMGs, for all specialties, then focus on finding a fellowship as a first step and then worry about the alternate entry path. So focus on finding the job as a fellow and then focus on the next steps. You want to come on and do your thingy? Okay. Here's my daughter. We want to follow the routine, so we don't want to break our routine.
Hi guys, so we're gonna be doing our live again. So make sure you put your name in the live chat later while my dad is answering questions, and then I'll add you to the wheel. And to enter on the wheel, you have to subscribe to the channel and then put your name, and we'll add you. And then the lucky winner gets a free coaching session.
Yes. So basically, we will pick one person with whom I'll have the pleasure of speaking to one on one for free. And essentially, make sure you like the video, comment, subscribe to us, and then we'll go from there.
We'll be spinning it later in the live, so stay tuned for that.
Okay, cool. Dr. Revati says, hello, sir. I have. Okay. I'm still waiting for the question. Let me see. Dr. Agarwal continues to ask, what is the scope of securing a permanent job in Canada for someone who has recently completed DM endocrinology in India? Okay, all right. Let me make this very generalized for you all. For anyone, okay, I'll try to be as general as possible. For anyone who is trained exclusively from a non-Western world, so for example, not from US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, from other countries, whatever specialty you're in, the first step is focus on getting a position. That position for most eligible IMGs who have finished their PG is going to be a clinical fellowship. Now, whether you're applying in the USA or whether you're applying in Canada, okay, in this example, Dr. Agarwal, now you could belong to any specialty. I would say the first step is always approaching through a clinical fellowship. Now, once you secure a clinical fellowship, then your pathway to the next steps can significantly open up. Now, that could be an attending, that could be back into residency. That depends on your profile, the job market, many other factors. But bottom line, for any eligible IMG, whether it's Canada or the USA, I would say entering the system as a clinical fellow would be a fantastic first step, and that's what I encourage you all to do. Okay, all right. Uh, so Dr. Neeraj says if we register for a full application package and fail to secure a fellowship or job prospect, what support can be expected further on? Can we start trying for a different country altogether through you? See, once we start focusing on a particular position, particular country, our focus should be exclusively on that. So we're not trying to play a game here. Okay, so your application means everything to us. So we put a lot of time and effort to really refine your application, read through each and every websites as we are applying to make sure we actually cater to the right type of fellowship. Now, we help with the first fellowship. We ask you to come up with a list of all the subsequent fellowships. And then once we sit and tell you these are the fellowships you need to apply to, we carefully review each of those applications and then tell you this is what you need to apply to. Okay? Uh, so the help would be very focused on that particular position. Now, if you do not secure a position, okay, we would tell you alternate strategies in order to achieve those steps. All right. Great questions. Keep coming. All right, Dr. Zakir Memun says, I'm an orthopedic surgeon from India and planning to move to the USA in future. Does orthopedic branch eligible for alternate physician pathway in Tennessee, Massachusetts, and other states? Yes, and also all other states. In fact, surprisingly, orthopedic surgery and radiology, to my knowledge, have been the specialties that have had alternate entry pathway for a really long time, at least since the last 15 to 20 years that I know of. And then anesthesiology joined. But I don't remember the sequence of what started first, what started next. But these specialties have had alternate pathway for almost 15 to 20 years. And we know of people who have been practicing in the USA without US residency for many years as well. So the answer is yes. Now, when you talk of, here's a distinction you need to remember, all of you. When you think of states like Tennessee, Massachusetts, you're focusing on the new law, okay? Whether there is a new law or not, there is an alternate entry path in all 50 states, and you need to remember this, okay? So don't mix this up. All right, and when we sit one-on-one, we actually take a deep look at each person's CV, and then tell them exactly whether they need to be focusing on the new law, whether they just need to focus on all the 50 states and things like that, because everyone's profile is so different. Okay, I hope these are answering your questions. So keep putting a thumbs up so I know that you're actually finding value, because the whole purpose of doing this is you get your questions answered, so you know exactly how to approach your situation. All right, Dr. Revati's question is still missing. All right, hello sir, I'm doing my MD in microbiology after completing. Is there any possibility of getting a job based on this degree? No, you have to remember microbiology is not a specialization in in these countries like USA, Canada. It's not a residency in these countries. So most microbiologists have done their masters and then they have become microbiologists. But there are some fellowships that are open for microbiologists. Again, I encourage you to approach those type of fellowships that actually are eligible for microbiologists. Are there a lot? No, there aren't. There are very few, but there are. Also, I do want to remind you, if you do want to join this session by a video or audio, then you can certainly click on the link that I'm resharing again for those of you who have joined later on, so you can actually ask me questions directly. All right, let's get back to the questions. Let me see, I'm scrolling back. I think we answered Dr. Zakir Memon's question, Dr. Revati's question we took care of. I'm from Kochi, Kerala. Thank you, Dr. Revati. That's helpful. All right, Dr. Atul says, hi. Okay, hi, Dr. Atul. Let's see, I have done DM endocrinology from India, post MD medicine. I think we just answered the process for endocrinology. What is the process to become a general practitioner in Australia after completing MBBS in India? By Dr. Shruti. Dr. Shruti, the expectation is you complete your AMC exams, you go through all the credential verification, and then you find a position as a registrar or something equivalent, and then you move through your training through subsequent steps, finish the exams in the process, and then you eventually become a fellow of Royal College. When people say fellow of Royal College in Australia, it means that they can now function as a full-blown consultant, and this is the process used for a, a general practitioner in Australia. Now, I keep speaking to some of the general practitioners in Australia, and they say that for those eligible people, there are some positions available in the area of need, but the expectation is people do need to have some experience in order to secure these jobs, but that's certainly an option for those eligible IMGs. Dr. Atul says, hi, sir. Studying for USMLE steps, hoping to clear step 2 and step 3 by 2025. Can I get a direct consultant job in endocrinology? If you're exclusively from India, I wouldn't focus on a direct consultant job, especially if you're a newly trained graduate. But for those experienced folks, yes, certainly could be an option. But for you, I think you can start with a fellowship. But if you cannot secure a fellowship, then residency would be your best bet. I'm getting a call from Dr. Abhilash. Let's see. Dr. Abhilash? Okay. Got dropped off. Let's see. Oh, yes. Dr. Atul, yes. Clinical fellowship in endocrine would be a good option if you're able to secure it. So I strongly encourage. See, in general, if you have completed your residency in your home country, it could be India in any country, I always tell people on how to focus on bypassing residency and becoming part of the system. Again, these are not easy. I never use the word easy. But given strategic steps and given the right direction you have, people have been successful in obtaining clinical fellowships or directly attending jobs and becoming part of the system. And that's what I encourage you to do. And that's what I did myself. And that's what I tell people to do. Okay. All right. Dr. Kunda says, I have done DM cardiology in India. Great. Planning for fellowship. Please help me which country to choose for fellowships. See, without knowing your complete profile, I cannot comment on specifics as to what country and you need to focus on. But if if your plan is to, let's say, do a fellowship outside India, then I would say a good option should be either the USA or Canada, and you know these would be a good starting points, I would say. All right, so Dr. Mishra says, sir, I meant, is DNB family medicine recognized in Canada same as like MD family medicine from India as a postgraduate degree for employing LMCC and fellowships? See, a PG in Canada is only recognized if you have done a PG from Canada or from the USA, no other countries. But for the purpose of fellowships, you can certainly apply for a fellowship after your home country PG or residency. Hopefully that clarifies the concepts. So, what is the difference? The difference is if someone is trained from the US or Canada and is now trying to find a job in Canada, they can directly become a consultant. But you, on the other hand, cannot become one, of course, unless you turn out to be an outstanding candidate and a hospital in Canada. But that is not generally what happens. Those are exceptional cases, but that is a major difference between these two. Making sense? All right. So we do have the call back from Dr. Abhilash. Dr. Abhilash, how are you? Where are you calling from?
Sir, coming from Bangalore, sir. I am from Bangalore Medical College, UG, your own college, sir.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, sir. I finished a MBBS from Bangalore Medical College, sir, and finished St. John in DM Cardiology in St. John, sir. About to finish in 2 months, sir. I just wanted to know which is the best country for applying fellowship in cardiology, sir.
So again, see, the best country depends on many. There is no best country. Every country has its own pros and cons. You know,
Yes, sir.
every country has its own problems and good things. But I would say USA or Canada would be a great place to do a fellowship.
Sir, if we take your help in that this one, is it 100% sure that we'll get, or is it how
No,
will it going to get help from?
no,
How
okay,
is it going to help from your side, sir?
okay. I want you guys to understand if you do decide to take our help, we cannot
Yes.
guarantee a position. Okay. Please, if you think we do guarantee a position, then don't take our help. Okay,
Okay, sir.
we provide guidance and we tell you exactly how to approach through the next steps of securing. Now, what is the
Okay.
difference? You people are not familiar with the system. We are familiar
Yes,
with
sir.
how the process
Very
works.
difficult, sir.
Now, if they ask you questions, you don't know what to answer, but we know what to answer, so we tell you the answers. So that is what we do. Okay, just because you take guidance doesn't guarantee a position, but we do guarantee a high level help in terms of proceeding with your application. But of course, there are some extreme situations where if a program comes to us and says, hey, we are looking for a candidate, we make those connections, but all this is done with complete transparency. Okay, and it's completely up to the program if they want to take the candidate or not. But from our standpoint, we restrict ourselves to providing guidance. Does that help
Sir,
you?
for the fellowship, is it compulsory for USMLE to be done, sir?
Uh, Majority of the cases, yes, but in your case, definitely yes, because you're still doing
Definitely.
cardiology. Now, who are those folks who actually can apply without USMLE or those who are extremely experienced? Okay, so for example, you're really well known in India. You have had an experience of 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and now you want to transition. Sure, we can explore some of the pathways without USMLE, but in your case, I would say you would need USMLE.
So should we try other countries, Australia or Singapore, something like that?
See, at
Just
the end of the day, what country you want to go to is a decision that you have to take. And if you want us to help, then we'll really have to take a deep dive. But sure, I would say for a clinical fellowship, Canada and USA are still a really solid positions. But in Australia, the expectation is you do have to finish AMC exams. In the USA, the expectation is you do have to finish USMLE exams. In Canada, generally, there are no exams required for clinical fellowships. And what other country did you say? Singapore?
yes, sir.
Yeah, Singapore is certainly an option, but if for Singapore, they do have we do have a video about Singapore. I think they do have a list of medical colleges that actually the Singapore Medical Board recognizes. And if you come from there, it's much easier. But if you do not come from there, you do have to find a position. And Singapore is a great country, no doubt about that. But the number of hospitals and the number of positions might be limited there. But sure, Singapore is a great option.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, cool. Good luck with everything.
Sir, one more question, sir. Sir, so many people are there in your panel. Whom to actually help, take help, sir? So many people are there, sir, in that. You are there, and so many sirs are there for different countries.
Yeah, so
I'm still not clear in which country to choose. That's what I wanted to know.
okay, okay. So if you want to begin not knowing what country to choose, then you can always talk to me.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and once if you're really focused on, I know what country to choose to, then you can pick that person from that particular country. But if
Still
you
not
stay
clear, sir. That's
confused,
what.
then probably I would be a good starting point.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care. All right. Where were we? All right. We talked about the. Okay. Dr. Talibur Rahman says, is a non-ACGMA fellowship useful for an alternate entry pathway, or it has to be an ACGMA accredited fellowship only? Great question. Anything is fine. Whatever you get in is going to help you with the next steps. Okay. So in general, I would say non-accredited or slightly, relatively in a better position for IMGs to find and secure. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I think we talked about that question. Dr. Ananda Kumari Matangi says, okay, Associate Professors in Siddhartha Medical College, Department of OBGYN, what are the opportunities for me to relocate to the USA? Ooh, see, the challenge is, Dr. Ananda, is the fact that you're an OBGYN. So whenever you think of surgical specialties, it gets very challenging. So there are four specialties which are extremely difficult to get in the USA and Canada. Anything to do with surgery, especially the specialized surgeries like I would say ENT, ophthalmology, things like that. The next is dermatology. The third one is radiology. The fourth one is anesthesia. So these four specialties are extremely difficult to get in. But the good thing that's happening right now is anesthesia and radiology is having huge shortages. So these guys are doing really good. But for an OBGYN, it is going to be much harder than other specialties. But I would say, again, you could explore a clinical fellowship. You are an associate professor, which means you're probably experienced. But yes, you might want to explore that. But the expectation, again, I couldn't say about USMLE without looking at your profile, but I think you can get started with a clinical fellowship. And if you're really keen on being in the US, depending on how much experience you have, you may also want to be prepared to repeat residency. Again, I couldn't say that, but in general, a clinical fellowship would still be a good starting point. All right, let's see. The next question goes like this. Dr. Athul says, I think we answered it, isn't it? Can I get a consultant job directly in USA or first entering a fellowship after ECFMG registered? I think we talked about this. Okay. All right. Next is Dr. Suleiman Said says, hi doctor, I've applied for an IMG residency for internal medicine for almost 120 applications. However, I haven't received any interview calls, any feedback. I'm so sorry to hear this. This is one of the most frustrating things that are happening to more people than less people, because less number of candidates get called for an interview and then secure a fellowship. This is pretty frustrating. I get it. The options you have is to continue building your CV, be persistent, and then just get prepared for SOAP, or hopefully SOAP goes through. But if not, then you may have to think of how you can establish and build your CV by either finishing step 3 if you still haven't done it, or by, let's say, securing a research job in the US. You're a fresh graduate, but if you've done PG from your home country, then focusing on fellowships. So these might be some of the options you have. Again, there are many candidates in your board, but don't lose hope. Okay, so we all have been through this. I have had many rejections myself when I used to apply for positions, and we didn't have IMG secrets then, so I had to do all the homework on my own, spend hours together, trying to see whom to talk to, where to get information from. And now you have us. There are so much information online. YouTube is there, so life is much easier these days. Okay, but stay positive. All right. So Dr. Pawan says, can ABR alternate pathway diagnostic radiology certified? Eligible. Oof. I'm not getting the question. Can ABR alternate pathway diagnostic radiology certified eligible IMGs for independent? You have to rephrase this. I'm sorry, I'm not getting this question. All right. So Dr. Ravi Sharma says, I'm a first year resident in pathology from India. Okay. Can I get a fellowship in Canada after completing my post graduation? Should my PG institute also there be in WHO directory and sponsor note? Great question. So to answer the second part of your question, no, you do not need to have your PG in the WHO directory or have a sponsor note. It's the MBBS that actually makes a difference. This is why I tell even DNB candidates can apply for a clinical fellowship in Canada. Okay? And can I get a clinical fellowship in Canada after completing my PG? This is a question I cannot answer without knowing all your background. But in general, getting a pathology fellowship has been extremely painful. And they are focusing on those candidates who are coming from countries that are treated equivalent to Canada for giving those fellowships. So meaning they're having more candidates from countries like I would say UK, Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Africa, and those countries. But in your case, because you're a fresh graduate, I would say it's going to be difficult, but the chances are not zero. Okay, there is still a chance, but it is going to be quite difficult compared to other candidates coming from different countries. Okay. Dr. Agarwal says, after securing one fellowship in Canada, does securing subsequent fellowships become easier? How does it work? Again, you're using the word easier, so I'm going to say relatively easier than securing the first fellowship applying from your home country. Yes, the process works similar to how you applied for a first fellowship, nothing much different. All right. Dr. Sultana says, hello, I'm Dr. Dalia, MD endocrinologist. There are a lot of endocrinologists here today. Okay, very sweet. Pun. Bangladesh working 10 years as assistant professor endocrinology in Bangladesh, want to move to Canada as consultant job directly. What's the procedure? So Dr. Sultana, if your training is exclusively from Bangladesh, I would be concerned to apply directly as a consultant, but I would focus on a clinical fellowship and proceed from there. There have been rare instances where IMGs from let's say India have been successful in directly getting a consultant job in Canada directly from India, but those are exceptional cases and those are candidates who have an excellent CV plus the application lands at a time when the hospital is looking for a position, so both of them merge together, so they get lucky. But for majority of people, it's going to be hard to directly apply for a consultant job. Okay, so that's where it is. I know that comes to what I started. There is so much shortage of doctors. I'm so qualified. I can take care of any patient, but these folks don't want to give a job. That's just the reality of things are because there is a process the hospitals have to follow, and if you approach the process properly, then your chances of getting successful gets higher, and that is what we provide guidance with. All right. Next question goes to Dr. Reddy, who says, I have completed general surgery with 3 years experience from India. I want to move to Canada. I have completed source verification of both MBBS and specialty, and I want further suggestions. So, with 3 years of, let's say, experience exclusively from India, being in general surgery, I would say, in general, getting a clinical fellowship can get tricky. So, sure, you can certainly apply for a fellowship, but I personally would suggest you to get prepared to do residency all over again. And I haven't looked at your profile, but that is what more likely is going to happen, I think. But again, nobody is stopping you from applying for a clinical fellowship, and you're more than welcome to do that. And nobody is telling me that if you're getting my answers, just throw a thumbs up. And if you do want to join live, I'll once again leave the link for those of you who are joining later, and which means the messages got moved. I'll have to scroll back to the messages. Remind me whenever we are good to do the spinning. Okay, come on. And then in the meanwhile, I'll try to find the questions. Oh, thank you. I just saw a thumbs up. Or else I'm just talking. I don't even know if it's helping you.
Okay, so we're gonna be doing our wheel giveaway spin thing. So to join, make sure you subscribe and like this video and put your name in the live chat so I'll add you to the wheel. My dad is gonna keep answering questions, but I'll add you to the wheel in the meantime, and then like in a couple of minutes we'll spin it and you can win.
Cool. Make sense?
So make sure you add your name.
So keep adding your name. If you're interested in doing a one-on-one session for free. All right. The next question from Dr. Talibur Rahman is a non-ACGME fellowship useful for an alternate entry pathway? I think we already addressed this. Oh, so let's see. Question from Dr. Daniel from Kenya. Okay, great. Did an ACGME accredited residency in anesthesiology? Oh, you already did an ACGME accredited residency. Okay. Oh, ACGME I. Sorry, I'm seeing the I now. Interested in a academic institution for fellowship in the US in anesthesia? What kind of institution better, big or small? Great question. So I would start with the bigger ones, the big names, and then depending on how they respond, then trickle down to the small ones. So given that it's an ACGME I, for those of you who don't know, US training is accredited by an organization called ACGME. I have to remember Accreditation Council of Graduate Medical Education. Many countries outside the US are also recognized by ACGME, and they are called ACGME I. The I stands for international. Okay? And this is where Dr. Daniel is trained from. So anyway, so that's the answer. Focus on bigger well-known institutions. Okay? Cool. All right. Great. Dr. Revati says, thank you, sir, for the information. It's my pleasure. Hope to talk to you in person soon. Thank you. Yes, I look forward to talking to you. Dr. Konda says, thank you. All right. Dr. Akram says, greetings, doctor. We can register for surgical clinical fellowship, paid job with Saudi board certificate. Can you specify where are you asking? Can I get a clinical fellowship in Saudi Arabia? For that, I unfortunately do not know the answer, but we do have Dr. Ravi, who is our specialist in Middle East, who will be able to answer the question if you decide to speak to him one-on-one. But if your question is saying, because you're registered in with the Saudi board, can you get a clinical fellowship? That doesn't change anything. You're still treated as an IMG, depending on wherever your primary country of training is from. But of course, if you're a sponsored candidate from Saudi, That's a completely different way Canada approaches these applicants. So that depends on where you're coming from. Okay, Dr. Zakir Memon says, thank you, sir, for my previous question. I have another question. Could new law allow to skip USMLA for a medical postgraduate past orthopedic from India with an experience of 20 years? The new law has nothing to do with skipping USMLA. The skipping USMLA part comes depending on whether whether the hospital is okay to hire the candidate without USMLA. And we generally see candidates who have a lot of experience, who are really well known, who have, I wouldn't say well known, but who have a lot of academic activities on their CV, or those candidates become successful without USMLA and directly secure a consultant jobs in the USA. But I wouldn't mix the concepts with the law. Okay, so the law is law, but things can happen even without the law. Okay. All right. Next, um, the question is Australia versus USA for an anesthesia doctor who is graduating in 2025. I'm married to a non-medical product manager, optimizing for less amount of time spent studying, faster citizenship, or PR. See, this is a more of a personal choice, but I can tell you in general. Okay, less amount of time spent studying. Maybe Australia, because in Australia you're studying for AMC, in the USA you're studying for USMLA. Faster citizenship or PR, probably Australia, but in terms of career, USA, hands down. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Dr. Rajat Mahajan. Dr. Rajat, MD radio diagnosis, 2 years experience, opportunities in the USA. Fellowship or residency? Thanks for reply of my previous question. I needed to know if USMLE is needed in new law for an orthopedic surgeon with 20 years of experience. See, the new law doesn't talk about USMLE. Again, I want you to differentiate these concepts. Okay? Now, whether it's a new law, old law, no law, whatever it is, a no USMLE would depend on the hospital willing to hire a candidate without USMLE. Okay, just don't confuse these concepts with the law. You don't even have to worry about the law. You can proceed with your application in all 50 states without thinking about the law, without USMLE, and see what happens. See, the law, no law, or I'm speaking in general to all of you. I just don't want you to get confused with, oh, there is a new law, it's saying this, it's saying that. With the new law, the focus is on finding the position. Without the new law, the focus is still on finding the position. Okay? So don't get too hung up on the law and no law. See, the laws become applicable for those candidates who are really not eligible to find a position. Now, the law, I would say, is more like helping IMGs in those regards, especially the law in Tennessee. But for most of you, if you're experienced, you don't have to worry about the law. You can just approach generally in all 50 states. All right, Dr. Konda, yes, of course, I remember. We just talked to you. All right, Dr. Amrut says, what are the pathways available in USA or Australia after radiation oncology residency in India? Great question. In USA, I would focus on a clinical fellowship. And radiation oncology is actually increasingly doing pretty good. The pay has gone up quite significantly for radiation oncologists. And I personally work in radiation oncology too. Of course, I'm not a radiation oncologist, I'm an anesthesiologist. And based on that, I get to work with all different specialties. So I see, I mean, they're having a good lifestyle. Of course, it's traumatic, the type of patients you're dealing with, because Of course, most of them have various types of cancers, but I would say you could focus on a clinical fellowship. In Australia, you may want to do the same thing or find a registrar position. And for those of you, I do want to mention this in Australia. If you have completed your residency in your home country, if you have some experience, there is a specialist assessment pathway in Australia. That's a fantastic opportunity as well. The problem is finding a job, and the second is it is very expensive to go through the specialist assessment pathway. The average expenditure you're looking at is about 12 to 15 Australian dollars, 12 to 15,000 Australian dollars. Now, whether you become successful or not successful, they won't give you a refund because you didn't get successful. So, bottom line, it's a great option for those eligible IMGs. I just wanted to mention that because it's a great question you asked. All right. I have done my next question is from Dr. Naz, internal medicine PG in India, doing a fellowship in Canada. Whoa, congratulations. That's pretty solid. What are my options to do a fellowship in the USA? Why do you want to do another fellowship in the USA? Focus on becoming a attending physician. If you need our help, you can always reach out to us and we'll take a deep look at your profile and then guide you exactly how to approach this situation. Now, one of our candidates who was doing a fellowship in the USA came to me asking he needs help with residency. We get a lot of these candidates, but I'm just trying to think of one such example. I convinced him he should apply for an attending, and then he applied. He gets it. Okay, so I would say I would focus on strategies like that. We really help with his application, and then gave him a mock interview preparation as well. Then he got successful. Just received his license. Good to start. Exciting. But if you still want to do a fellowship, you can approach the same way that you did in Canada. All right, moving on. Dr. Agarwal says, thank you very much for taking the time for this live session. No, it's my pleasure. See, the thing is, I do want you all to understand the right pathways to be successful with your career, give you some clarity. Because, all of you can go online, read stuff. But when I talk to people one on one, because they come to me, they read things online, and they're so confused that they don't know what exactly to do. So the whole idea is to break up information in a simplified way. So I tell you things that you not only, there are two things I approach. Try to simplify what you read online. More importantly, tell you those things that you don't see online that I see practically being a doctor actively working in a major university in the USA. Okay, so these are the experiences I want to share because ultimately I want you all, because I'm one of you. We know how painful this is, and I want you all to be successful with whatever you're doing. So that's the whole idea. But thank you, I appreciate it. All right, so we see all the names put in. All right. So, hi, doctor from Sudan. We love your video. Thank you for your advice. It's my pleasure. I'm really glad that you are all finding some value with this. So, that's the whole idea of doing this. You want to come and spin? Okay. All right. We'll do the spin thingy. She's good at all this, so I'll leave it to her. So I focus on what I'm good at doing. That is an important thing. That just struck my mind. It's really important to focus on doing things with each of us are good at. Obviously we're not good at everything. So that's the whole idea.
Okay, so unfortunately we cannot share it on the screen because it's not working, but I made sure to get all of your names on it and we're gonna spin it. So
All right, guys. So we'll spin this wheel and see whom I
I'm
would
gonna
have.
shuffle it a couple of times.
Now all the names are put in. Obviously, it's hard for you to say. We try to bring it on again. Okay.
Okay, we're
So she's
spinning.
gonna click this wheel, and then I'll show the wheel spinning on the screen, hopefully. All right. So let's get rid of this question and come back to this. Okay, who's the selection? You can do the announcement.
Nazir.
All right, Nazir, congratulations. We're very excited for you, and I look forward to talking to you. So the next steps is send an email to my team at contactus@imgsecrets.com, and they will set up an appointment. And I look forward to talking to you one on one and take a look at your CV. So when you do send an email when you have an appointment, make sure to send your CV as well. So I'll take a look, and then we can talk about all your next steps and help you with your career guidance.
And if you didn't win this time, don't worry because we always do a spin like every month during our lives. So hopefully you can win next time. So make sure you come.
That's right. Plus, if you really want to have one-on-one suggestions, you can always book an appointment at imgsecrets.com, and we'll be happy to talk to you. All right, we'll take maybe a couple more questions, and Dr. Sagar Varatoria says, I have done my MD in radiology. Please let me know whether I should do an observership from a renowned institute like Stanford and Harvard, or an institute which provides alternate entry pathway. So my question to you is, why do you want to do an observership? What are you trying to achieve here? So based on that, I can provide you a good answer. At the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference. Oh, I think that brings another question. Who can provide an alternate pathway to candidates? Any university hospital can do that. Anyone can do that. But do they do this? Well, that's up to them. But in theory, anyone can do that. All right. Next question goes like this. Dr. Anil Reddy says, low scores in USMLE Step 2, 216. Will these affect in getting fellowships in USA after MD General Medicine in India? See, here's the thing. For any of you with low scores, when you're applying for a fellowship, they don't look at USMLE scores because they're focused on the candidate, not on the scores per se. But you have to remember what happens if you don't get a fellowship. Then you will have, you still, let's say you still want to focus on the USA. You need to get back into residency. Then how can you achieve this with your low scores? Now, this is what you need to be starting to think about. Okay? But for those of you who are still yet to write the exams, so make sure even though you're focusing on fellowship, get high scores. But for those of you who already have a low scores, focus on things that helps you build your CV so you can reduce the impact of having a low scores when you apply for a residency. But for a fellowship, it's fine. All right. My question about fellowship opportunity in Canada after MBBS. Fellowship opportunity in Canada after MBBS. You mean without a PG? It's going to be. I wouldn't recommend that. If you have not done a post graduation or residency from your home country, your first focus should be that. Now, if you're thinking of a fellowship without a PG, then a research fellowship would be your option. All right. Dr. Voratoria goes on to ask above question for radiology to be continued in order to get a US clinical experience and build a strong CV, maybe for repeating residency or going into alternate pathway. Where should I do an observership? It really doesn't matter where you do an observership. You can do it in any university hospital. And as I said, anyone can give an alternate entry pathway. And I'm still struggling with your approach you're taking. And anyway, so you could technically do it in any university. You can also focus on a fellowship if you're already a radiologist, and radiology is doing pretty good for IMGs right now. Extensive shortages. So we recently had a radiology IMG who secured a fellowship, and we're really happy for her. And let's see. Hi doctor, what's the best pathway for breast imaging job after radiology residency and fellowship in Jordan? I would say more likely a fellowship or residency. Just similar to what I've been saying about applying for fellowships. Is it advisable to attempt PLAB after MBBS? How much is the whole process going to cost? Well, if you focus on moving to the UK, then yes, PLAB is what you may have to take. I actually do not know the whole process of this. I'm sorry. And we do have an expert who is working in the UK. And if you're really interested in knowing all the UK pathways, I welcome to speak to him one on one. Does low USMLE scores with MD General Medicine? I think we already addressed this question. Maybe we'll take a couple more questions. I have done MD Pediatric Medicine from Pakistan. Okay, 4 years training with Australia Specialist Pathway in remote states. What are the chances and what advice will you give? 4 years training with Australia Specialist Pathway in remote state. Yeah, so if you already are through the specialist pathway, so I'm missing the second piece. So what are you missing in terms of being a pediatrician in Australia? So what else are you focused on? So I'm missing that part of the question from you. Dr. Pasha says, Dr. Iyer, I'm currently a neurosurgery resident in Pakistan. Excellent, Dr. Pasha. Saeed says, when we book. I'm not sure of the other part of the question. So Dr. Naveen Kumar says, I'm going to finish my medicine PG in India. I have done 3 papers, 2 paper presentations, planning to publish 2 case reports next month. Give suggestions to improve my CV, my probability of getting a fellowship. See, in general, for anyone to improve a CV, focus on continuing your clinical work, focus on doing publications if you can, focus on building your educational profile, which is essentially you building your own skills by going to conferences and you teaching other folks. Now, these are all the things how one would focus on building their CV, building their profile so they become successful in getting the next steps. All right, so I think I've been talking for more than an hour and we have hit the time. And I really thank you all for joining this live session. And I wish you all a very happy holidays coming up, plus a very happy and a joyful New Year 2025 in advance. And thank you all so much for supporting IMG Secrets and joining us. And hopefully, my important goal is you're receiving value by the information we are providing, because ultimately it's your career which is more important. So make sure you get focused on your career. Again, for those of you, I congratulate you who have been successful, but if you are not, I know it's very disappointing, but do stay hopeful, continue building your CV. Things will happen, okay, taking the right steps. All right. If you still need our guidance, you can always go to our website www.img.com, book an appointment from there. We'll be more than happy to talk to you. Take care, stay safe. I will talk to you soon.